Hey everyone, Cody Menz here. I have another WoT's new video for you. Quite a bit to go over today. So 1.10 Common Test Server updated to version 2 now, with some Polish tanks. Also, what I think is one of the worst decisions Wargaming has ever made. I'll explain why. Also, a little bit about Equipment 2.0, because that's also coming in 1.10. A little bit about rank battles as well. And, super tests basically, some updates for Empire's Border and also Minsk. So, let's dive into it here. Basically, all these links you can find in the video description below. I'll kind of poke around the garage too a little bit after I get through, the start here. So, let's start things off. Wargaming has caved to basically what I feel like is a bunch of whiners. And they were doing a great thing. They have equipment coming. They're trying to rebalance tanks, like the IS-4, T110E5 line, E100 line, nerf the 430U a little bit. The Italian mediums, it's a little controversy, with removing the rammer. However, one of the best, two best premiums in the game, the EBR 75 and the Italian Progetto 46, were basically being nerfed. And honestly, some people were upset, where I feel like they should have just did what they did with the Super Pershing. If people want to whine about it, give them their gold, basically value back, and, or let them trade the tank in. But really, you have two of the best Tier 8 premiums. EBR nerf, honestly, is justified with the wheel nerf. It's not like they're doing anything else to the tank, or weren't. The Progetto 46, honestly, removing the rammer, yes, it's a nerf, but it's still one of the best Tier 8 premiums, even with that. So, unfortunately, today, with the, Common Test updating, Wargaming caved. And this is where before people were like, oh, they can't balance premium tanks and nerf them and stuff like that. They've changed premiums before. They did pretty big changes to the Type 59, Super Pershing, and honestly, in their user agreement, and this even came up on the official Wargaming stream, I believe on all basically regions and specifically the EU, the user agreement you agree to, you're basically purchasing the right to use the premium tanks. You don't actually own them. So they can do whatever they want, regardless of what, I'm sure some people are going to type in the comments, blah, 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 you're wrong, but other games do it. Wargaming's done it. They could do it if they wanted to. Now, they basically caved, and what are we getting with the Progetto now? The Progetto M35 Mod 6 is now, it's just flat out going to be the best Tier 8 medium tank in the game. Now, it's already a really good medium tank. Everybody knows that. So what are they doing? Basically, currently on the live server, your DPM is basically 2086 with a gun rammer. 100% crew, that's what it is. Now, and I'm just going to swap over here without this screen. Now, with 1.10 coming, the Progetto 46, and these are all 100% crews with no equipment on them. Now it basically has a gun rammer baked into the tank. And now you have a free equipment slot. You have 3 equipment slots because the gun rammer is essentially added onto the tank now. So as you can see here, I picked some, premiums that are close to it. Also the P44 Pantera, which is now crying because it's even further left behind. But I picked some pretty good premiums, that are comparable or just, popular ones. The only tank with higher DPM, and this is with the Progetto not having to put a rammer on at all. Most people are going to throw vents on with the new equipment system. I like the equipment system, but so it basically has one of the best DPMs, and this is just shooting with the single shot, but you also have the auto loading option, obviously. Accuracy, aiming time, almost the best gun depression in this regard. It's got a pretty good gun traverse. The Bereska's better. Bereska's, pretty much a light tank though. Penetration, damage per shot it doesn't have, but you have that autoloader. On top of that, you have HP, you've got mobility, which is really good, not the best, but it is, towards the higher end mobility wise. And, it's flat out the best Tier 8 medium tank in the game now. It was already really good, but this it seals the deal because I like the equipment system. Like I said, I think it's a good change. It adds depth into the game. However, when you think about this, they're basically giving the Progetto a 4th equipment slot. So now, most people are going to throw vents into basically this update it. After that, when it comes down to what you can put in there now, like most tanks now have to, they would put a rammer in this slot for most tanks that have access to it. You could make your tank even faster now, put a turbocharger. And on top of that, improve your dispersion, and, you basically have more flexibility because now you have 2 free slots. You could basically increase your vision and honestly spotting capabilities. When it comes to survivability, you could throw stuff on this, but that's probably not the best for, a medium tank. Or, you can just buff basically your firepower if you wanted to even more, which is, it's kind of ridiculous that it doesn't seem like a huge change when you first look at it, but it's buffing the best, or one of the best tier 8 mediums now, to basically being the best one. The only thing it doesn't have is armor. But honestly, tier 8 mediums, you don't really have armor as it is. So you basically just flat out have now the best medium. They're probably not going to sell it anymore. It's that good. And it's going to turn into basically something like the Type 59, E25 and stuff. After they changed the game, like E25 and the Type 59 with preferential matchmaking, and TDs changing way back when with the camo after shot for the E25, they just stopped selling them because they're just broken. Progetto is most likely going to become that because, it's just for them to keep selling it. It's kind of going against everything that they are doing right now, which they're listening to the player base, the whiners, and honestly, I feel like the vocal minority kind of won here, and it's kind of depressing to where, honestly, this is one of the worst decisions they've made, especially recently. And, it's kind of erasing a lot of, I guess, goodwill that they have balance-wise, that they're not willing to basically, do something. Like, they could have appeased people by giving it a little bit of the DPM back, to where, it's a little bit nerfed, but it's not as, nerfed as basically this would have been without the gun rammer. Just something. But putting it back to where it was, it's just, it's trying to appease people that honestly are just complaining. But in any event, EBR 75, they won't say specifically what those changes are too, and this was basically nerfing the premium tank, and enough people complained about their poor little tanks that they bought, which honestly, I purchased both of these before I was a community contributor. Or no, I purchased the Progetto. Panhard I did not, however. Even so, basically, that tank deserved a nerf. Where the wheel tank changes, people can agree. It's a good change. They have more, basically risk for pushing out because the wheels do more debuff. However, they're saying it's basically going to remain the same, even with the rework mechanics to the wheel suspension, because they're going to compensate it and basically not make the penalty as much, it seems like. So again, they're caving in, and it's so infuriating, where, I wish they would just grow a backbone. Don't freaking cave into the little complainers that are whining about their poor little broken tanks. In any event, though, Equipment 2.0, it's coming, great. They fixed some things. Honestly, the things that were broken, like the improved aiming unit, and basically the things that I thought should have been changed, and adding like vents to the survivability was a nice feature. I like the equipment system. It's nice. Some people will argue about the demount kits and stuff, but I think it's good. I think it's good enough, and you'll be able to buy one-shot packages if you need more of them. Otherwise, you get them in daily missions, more so than now because you don't really see them. But the best changes I feel like are at low tiers. And before I move on to the next subject, we are not through Wargaming making even bigger mistakes, because since Tier 1 to 5 tanks are no longer having the opportunity to mount a gun rammer, as well as some other modules, they are buffing these low tier premiums now. And guess what? The FU-76I is already extremely broken. T-28 E3 with the F-30 gun is also. So they're buffing premium tanks again. Like, I'm just so disappointed right now. Like, I get some people might be like, oh, well, Wargaming can't do it, but they've stated that they can, and they have done it in the past. Change tanks for the better of balance. Other games do it all the freaking time, too. It's so frustrating. But anyway, moving on. Polish tanks are coming to the game. Awesome. It almost like, with all the stuff coming in the next patch, it's amazing. But it's really unfortunate that now, like, to me, this next patch, it's dumb that they're basically buffing 2 premium tanks when the game doesn't need that. We don't need those 2 tanks to get any better. Like, they were so close. So close. Anyway, though, the Polish tanks are coming. Yay. Hip hip hooray. I'm almost like, it's like depressing. Like, it's not even like I'm excited anymore for like these tanks or, the other stuff coming. Basically what you're getting with the Polish tanks, they have, like, the tier 10 has a unique, like, 2 different modes. You do have positive and negative effects in those modes, whether you go faster, but you lose some firepower, stuff like that, and camo. Essentially, the trait for this line, though, you have pretty decent gun depression. It's almost like a blend between a Russian medium tank and an American tank, from what I basically can tell. Where they'll be interesting. I think they'll be pretty good. One thing to note, basically, as you move down your line, now that we have blueprints and, basically a lot of things to skip experience, you'll note basically module-wise, and I already kitted these out and everything, when it comes to it, the modules are freaking expensive. Where it's cheaper to unlock the tanks, but a lot more expensive to get the modules. That's how this line's kind of built. Where the tanks fully elite seem pretty good. The guns, I like tanks with a little bit of gun depression. Like, is the turret armor anything like super amazing? No. But honestly, I feel like these are going to be fun little tanks to play. And, it's basically giving you something unique because it sets it apart from like the Russian mediums and even the Chinese mediums to an extent, without necessarily, giving you basically just a clone. They look like Russian tanks, but they play a little bit different. So I'm a fan. So basically this, if you didn't read over it, I would read over the equipment changes too. This goes into a little bit more depth, in depth than basically the article just for the update 1.0. I like the changes they did. It pretty much addressed, the issues that I had with certain pieces of equipment, which is nice. And, basically, it's worth noting what's going to be changing in the next update before it actually comes. Otherwise, rank battles have begun. For those, that are going to be trying them, personally, when you're going through the qualification battles, which honestly just feel like a waste of time, they should just get rid of them. Just play your best tank, play 1 or 2 tanks that you're super good at, you're consistent, because that sets you up for breezing through the Division 3 that you start at. After that, honestly, the best tip I can give you is pretty much once you get your bonus battle in a tank for a day, don't play it again. Only play your best tanks, to where if you start basically running out of really good tanks you're solid at, just stop playing for the day. Play the next day, do your bonus battles. It'll help you. You should be able to breeze through Division 3 pretty fast just by doing your bonus battles, as long as you're just playing consistently and not YOLOing. Just with the way that they work, as long as you're kind of pulling your weight and not doing anything overtly wrong, you should be able to move through pretty easily. Last but not least, basically Minsk has been, it's not changed since the last time we saw it. However, it's been out of super test for a while. They add it back in, but even better, Empire's Border, they have a few different variations of it that they're looking to basically change the map, and it's changing drastically. Basically, I think all 3 versions are pretty nice. I think they'll settle on this one, but I could be wrong. Personally, it's hard to see the changes, because there's not a ton of info otherwise. But basically, they're trying to open up the gameplay. While, you're still going to have basically like 2, but 3 in a sense, dedicated flanks. But more or less, it's going to be a little bit better gameplay-wise. I like the changes just because Empire's Border, it's not my least favorite map, but it's definitely, it funnels you into certain spots, obviously. And last but not least, you've got yourself the Minsk changes. Once Rykozet has a really good page here too with all the changes, which is nice. As I scroll down and down and down, we got Minsk. Minsk is changing pretty drastically. As you can see, they drained a river. They opened up this spot over here, so there's another kind of flank to brawl on. They changed this area pretty drastically. These changes came up, I believe, towards the middle of last year, to where it's just, they've kind of been sitting on it for a while. And, it's basically, the changes look pretty nice, to where it's adding more spots for you to basically play. And, it's drastically changing the map, especially with the river changing, where you can actually play that as a flank because it's lower. And when it comes to playing the outer flanks, they're still important, but it hasn't actually, it hasn't really changed the map drastically in the sense to where it's going to play 100% different, but it definitely gives you more options. I'll just leave it at that. But it's tough to talk about it without actually having playing the map. But at least we should see Minsk, hopefully, and also Empire's Border, I would assume by the end of the year, which will be pretty nice. Otherwise, though, that's pretty much all for me this week. Again, let me know in the comments your feelings about the Progetto. That's mainly what this video, me ranting about, because honestly, I think it's one of the worst decisions Wargaming could have made. Like, I know they don't want to piss people off that bought stuff, but literally they could have just went the route of the super Pershing and just compensated people with their gold if they wanted to trade it in, let them trade it in for a different premium tank if they really wanted to, or just keep it because it would still be one of the better tier 8 premiums in the game and medium tanks. But now pretty much they got themselves in a corner to where you have all of these Progettos, more so in the game than say the Type 59 when that used to be an issue, and also like the E25 and like some of the rarer tanks that are really good. Now they have this tank where legitimately, they should stop selling it because it's going to be that broken. I would honestly say the EBR 75 too, if they're not actually nerfing it, to where it pretty much, for them trying to rebalance, the tanks I talked about, the E5, IS4, E100, 430U, the actual Tech Tree Progetto line, redoing equipment, the crew system, ammunition. Honestly, this is the worst thing they could do. Is it just shows that they're basically not willing to, make a tough decision that's better for the game balance-wise. So it actually kills your confidence in them actually going forward and balancing certain things. Where, honestly, who knows, maybe they're just not going to do the ammunition system anymore, because why not? We can make more money from people buying premium rounds. Where it just defeats everything that they're doing by catering to the small percentage of people that actually are upset enough about the tank. And I feel like it's negotiating basically with people who won't negotiate. It's frustrating. But in any event, have a nice one, guys, and I'll see you at some point next week. Otherwise, you can find me on my live stream doing ranked battles, doing requests too. But yeah, have a good one. See you around.